Welcome back, one and all, to, of course, the LJLOU coverage of the LJL Spring 2021 Spring Split, where we are in week 4, where we're finally getting around to our reverse matchups once more. These are the second matchups between a lot of these teams now, and one of these matchups will be Rascal Jester versus the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawk Gaming, who are, of course, the Hawks coming in for their first game of this week. And we just saw Rascal Jester take themselves that 1-0. And actually, as I look at that, I mean, of course, they had their rematch earlier today. And I believe this will actually be just their first match versus the Rascal Jesters this time. So actually, it won't be one of those rematches coming in. But just going back in terms of because of course, a rematch would be something old, something well trodden, something that we've seen before. I'm going to go hit on something which is a little bit new, right? The new players coming into a couple of these rosters. I want to talk particularly on the Rascal Jester side about Recap and about Kinatu. And Lexi, since you are a resident follower of such regional talent and where they come from or where do they go, where do they come from, Rascal?
Don't you dare! Don't you dare!
Joe, for you in this last game and also in the start of this split, of course, Rascal Jester now sitting at 4-3. Recap and Kanatu, how have they slotted into this mechanism of the Jester's framework?
Absolutely. So that's a really lovely place to go with because Hachimetra is the only remaining member of the side of Rascal Jesters. He was very much seen as kind of the thought process. Obviously, Rascal Jesters went through an absolute roller coaster of changes. Obviously, Art and Vivid were originally on this team, and they are now no longer even in the region, having to do military service and the like over in Korea, or just visa problems. COVID happened, obviously. So there's been a lot of things that have very much affected this side of the Rascal Jesters. Coming into this, Solo and Secret were just kind of slotted in with their new head coach as well, whose name is actually completely just left my brain. I know it begins VCAP. Thank you. This was a 3-man kind of squad that kind of came in with a new idea, which were like, okay, we're going to play aggressive. We're going to play around these two guys, and I'm going to bring that synergy with them. Then what they decided to do was, okay, we need to figure out a mid laner who's going to be strong, steadfast, and a player that we can rely on. Recap was a player before he left the league, probably because of retirement reasons, was actually very much known as the V3 mid laner. This was before the era of Ace, which we now know has been rather strong, if I do say so myself. Recap only really played for on the LGLCS,
The Challenger
Series. I was sort of trying to remember the last 2 initials that they went for that, the Challenger Series, before playing one full split in the Winter Split for them in the summer-ish, before then leaving and then coming back for the Rascal Jesters. Has been a really strong point for them, and I've been talking for ages here, so I'm just going to say Kanatu played really well. He's 17 years old, and he's already pulling off 4-man Mega Gnar ults.
Huge.
I love this kid.
And we love him too over on the broadcast so far. Gave us a lot to be excited about in that last game versus Crest Gaming Act, where that game was a story of how well Kinatu did perform in that team. Things haven't looked so good for the Hawks. They're now sat at 2-4 coming into this week, and we were talking, previous games of today's broadcast for us, have been about this group in the middle of Rascal Jester, Axes, CGA, kind of sat there in the middle of the pack, and now we've actually seen, Axes and CGA both go 0-2. Rascal Jester looking to go 2-0, and we'll have to return to that in a bit. But on the side of the Hawks, they need to go 2-0 to really even catch up to these teams. They've got to pick up a win somewhere. And it seems like actually they really are struggling, particularly with their mid-jungle synergy, I think it's fair to say, Sam. What have you made of Tussle and his consistency worries? And then also Dasher, and actually, is he a little bit elo held right now?
I think there is a bit of a weird disconnect going on here, and that not that I necessarily think either of these players are bad, but the synergy between the two certainly hasn't really been there, and I do not know whether that's because Tussle has been focusing on towards other lanes. I don't know whether that's because Dasher has been playing a little bit more for the lane and not for where Tussle wants to be, but either way, it has often left some disconnected movements on the map, and that has been problematic, where either Dasher gets left out to dry in mid lane and gets ganked, and that's not so great, or Tussle will go for an invade, which makes sense considering where everybody else is, and ends up doing so alone because people aren't moving to support him.
The blank
And for a
syndrome
team,
from last year, from
yeah, a little
Sengoku.
bit. And for a team that has some of the most veteran and honestly mechanically talented players, at least on paper, there's a bit of a problem here.
Bit of a problem here. So if there are problems there, I suppose going to head back over to Lexi in terms of, I think it's fair to say Rascal Jesters are coming in on paper as the favorites. What do Hawks need to do from particularly the last week of games where they, I mean, they did take that one win, but they, a bit back and forth. What do they need to do to really solidify themselves as someone that can push into that mid-table? Where do they need to make changes?
They need to just have a convincing game, honestly. They need to build some of that confidence. Obviously, we are not privy to the information of their scrims, so we don't really know what their scrim record is. But honestly, the Hawks just don't seem to have any form of cohesion. I really want to just double down on Initialize's point. This is a team that on paper should be doing so much across the map. Appaman was just one of the best, if not the best top laner, even though he wasn't our world's representative. He was definitely top 3 contention. Tussle and Dasher had huge names. Yes, the Hawks had a disappointing first split, but coming into this split, at least we were like, well, these are the only 2 players that are staying on. There should be a lot from them. They're not there. They're just not working together. We were hoping to see that. Corporal has come into this team and hasn't been able to flex as much as we were expecting him to. Hopeful to see more engaged supports from him and to maybe have
He's
a
been
bit
playing the
more.
Rel a lot, of course, too, trying really to get on that train, but he's been failing to make an impact with them, I think.
Yeah, and Zenit just has been honestly the most quiet, if not the quietest AD carry in my opinion. So
well,
I'm just a little yeah.
What I will say is the win last week came off really strong laning phases. Zenit and Corporal crushed that lane. Holy moly! Like yes, Zenit's been quiet for a lot of the
That's
split.
when they've done that too.
But the 2 wins they've had is off Zenit really popping off. He went monstrously up in that last
kills,
game. He went 14, 3 and 4 on Samira. It was brutal stuff, and I just need to see like. The Hawks are fine with the lead, with a bit of momentum. They look significantly more lost if it is even or they're slightly behind. Do me a favor, get yourself a bit of a kill lane somewhere, get somebody snowballing, and you can work from there.
I agree.
So,
I agree.
A lot of different factors that we can talk about them, because particularly because, I mean, with Lexi saying, well, we do need to see more out of Zenit. We've seen some good stuff. It's just, if that's all you've got and it's happening so inconsistently, where are you actually finding your way to push
2
up
out
the
of
table?
8 games. Like,
it's not a lot. Yeah.
At the end of the day, they are sat down, almost tied for that last place spot. So, will they remain tied at that point, or will it be the Jesters coming away with a win? Initialize, what's your prediction for this game?
I'm still giving it to the Jesters. Again, the consistency has been there for this squad for me.
And Lexi, what about you?
I think because we've already seen a win from Burning Core so far, I'm not expecting the Hawks to turn it around, and they've got a game against V3 later, and it might be last place tying, I feel.
Okay, so some confidence in the Jesters, a little less in the Hawks. Well, let's see if that changes in the picks and bans as we are headed over to that now. Enjoy the game, guys.
Thank you so much, Nymera. It does leave myself and Maswan here on the caster desk to talk about Rascal Jesters versus the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks Gaming. Ain't that a mouthful, ladies and gents? And that will be RJ on the left, blue side, and the Hawks over on the right come red side, with Kinatu, Hachimecha, Recap, Sol, and Secret making up the Rascal Jester lineup.
And for SHG, not SG, SHG, ladies and gentlemen, we got Appaman at the top lane, Tussle in the jungle, Dasher in the mid lane. With that capital R at the end, it's important. Zenit in the bot lane and Corporal as their support. We've got some bans coming through thick and fast. That Gnar is getting taken away, as well as Thresh for the Hawks.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking over at some of these bands, and they're not entirely a surprise, right? Like, the two big ticket weak side top laners, Gnar and Gragas, so highly prioritized off the table. Big support picks, Rel, Thresh off the tables. It's going to be the Olaf and the Renekton as the final bands. They all feel like relatively high priority picks, but it's left Seraphine up and available. It is first picked by the Jesters. It's not worth pointing out, of course, knowing which role this could end up in. It could be for Sol, for Secret, for Recap. There is a wild world where it ends up for Kinatu, so while you can counter Seraphine, you've got to first know where it's going.
Absolutely, and I love this pick. I do subscribe to the school that she is very, very strong at the moment. I think she is a brilliant mid laner and support. I think she still works absolutely fine as an AD carry. Coming through over to the other side, obviously picking that Seraphine first pick does mean Kai'Sa slips through the draft, and she is, if not the most high priority AD carry at the moment. And Udyr, because Olaf was banned, Udyr gets through, so the Hawks do pick themselves up two pretty strong champions in response.
But instead, Kinatu will get a hold of his Aatrox, which he's looked pretty alright on before, so that'll be another one of those relatively high priority picks. And I suspect the Jesters will look towards a jungler here, lest that pool get a little bit more pinched. But of course, this is Hatchemetcha, who's got a few picks up his sleeve, and thus perhaps they're okay leaving that one behind. And instead, they pick up the Senna pick, and fasting Senna over the last few weeks and patches has really been rising in priority, hasn't it, Lexi?
Hugely. She is quickly becoming the second most played AD carry at the moment in the meta game. If your opponents are going to play a dive comp with Kai'Sa, which is a typical form of play for Kai'Sas, Senna's great at doing it because you can stay way out of the team fight when everybody's grouping into the carries or trying to do something crazy. Senna can step way far back, can be the heal bot hilariously as an AD carry and do so much more. We see this Syndra be locked in, and Seraphine doesn't mind playing against a Syndra in the mid lane. So Dasher maybe hedging his bet, saying, I think this might be going out into bot lane, which honestly, Seraphine Senna is a horrible lane to play against. There is almost
so much CC, and
so
if you're running
much.
And if you're running Glacial on Senna as well, you don't need to use your doubled cast on your beat drop. You'll just get the root off the basic cast because the slow's already there.
Exactly.
There is a lot of nice synergies there. Hell, you just pair it up with the last embrace. It works just as well. On top of that, alongside that, just so much CC, so obnoxious.
And you can still play Fasting Senna and have the Seraphine scale up. So there's a lot.
Cool.
There's a lot you can do with that. But we will have to first see where the Seraphine is going, as she is still being flexed between two. We did have some bans come in. Skana was taken away from Hatchemetcha.
Yep.
Not too surprising, as that has been another champion of his, which he has played in the past. And then we saw two top bans coming out from Rascal Jester to just make the matchup a little bit easier, taking some of the Appermen flavor of the picks away, especially that are pretty good against this Aatrox. And we see a Scion locked in for Appermen.
Is no bans here, super surprising. Appermen definitely had his pool pinched a little. It's one of the weird picks I actually mentioned alongside the Orianna. Now see what the Jesters want to respond with. They've gone towards a Maokai top light. No, it'll be Maokai support, and then it'll be Seraphine mid. Yeah, that'll be what that is. And now we've got to see what the jungle pick is here. Hatchemetcha is being given a lot of freedom to pick his matchup. See what he's got in his bag of tricks. He's certainly pulled out one or two. No, he's done it!
Yo, okay.
We called it out in the pre-game from last time the Jesters were out. Last game. And Hatchemetcha locks in Kayn here in the LJL.
Wow, I'm going to be leaning on your knowledge of Kayn, honestly, for this one, Initialize, because I'm trying to quickly find as much as I can out about this champion. I've been watching the YouTube guides and everything else, but my god, this is... Okay, so let's just look at these drafts first and foremost, what team compositions we're working with. From the side of Rascal Jesters, they've got a lot of early engage with this Kayn, with this Aatrox. They can go into the middle of fights. Obviously, Maokai is very good at doing that. I imagine we'll be seeing a Comet Maokai because there's still no reason to be doing anything else. We might be also seeing, what's the shock? Over... What's the green one?
Core, Dawning Shadow.
No. The rune, the green rune.
Completely.
Yes, Aftershock, of course. Thank you.
Thank you.
I was like, it's not the one that...
Green Tanky Rune.
Green Tanky Rune, the one that they all take, that you can take top lane sometimes when it's not grass. But the side of Rascal Jesters, they've got a lot of engage, but they can also play a lot of heals. They've got double heals with the Seraphine and the Senna. They've got a lot of sustain, and this Aatrox could go very big. Kinatu has shown he's willing to do that. Over, though, on the other side, the Hawks. They need Udyr to get ahead. They need Udyr to really run over this game and shut down Hatchemetcha.
Yeah.
Yes. Because if Hatchemetcha is neutered, the rest of this team will be very squishy, and they can run over them. And we could see some amazing Rakan ults. Problem is, they do need to make sure they get ahead, because if they don't, Rascal Jester outscale, like, just tenfold.
Look, there is a lot of healing from the Jesters. Every single one of those picks has sustain in their kit, either for the whole team or just for themselves. There is shields, there is an Encore and a Dawning Shadow that will fall over the top of these dive buddies between the Double Darkin plus the tree. On the other side, though, it's a little bit more standard, you're right, for the Hawks. You know, like Kai'Sa, Syndra, very standard. Sion as a front line, perhaps a little less meta. Then you've got a Corporal on the Rakan and Tussle on this Udyr to try and force some picks and some engage. And if they can kind of new to this Kayn, it's definitely been done before, right? Like Kayn desperately wants his form transformation. He's not a champion. He is like 2/3 of a champion at most before he gets his transformation either to that Shadow Assassin or to Rast. And he needs to both farm and fight early on, and it's a real difficulty for Kayn that actually he needs both items and gold levels and also needs to fight so he can get his transformation. And you're right, if Tussle can get a hold of Hatchemet, stop him getting ahead, then maybe they can deal it. If they get enough healing reduction, maybe they've got some chances here. But otherwise, could get a little challenging in this mid game with all the vast amounts of heals and shields that the Jester has available to them.
What is worthy of note, Seraphine does have normally a pretty difficult time in the early game versus this Syndra. So if Tussle can find a way of gap closing, can use that flash bear slap into the Syndra stun, there could be some really
There's a
big
lot of CC
combos.
there. Yeah.
Especially pre-15, the Seraphine is going to be struggling. However, once she does get there, hilariously, Seraphines do actually have a positive win rate over Syndra's in professional play, I believe. But regardless, even if you fall behind early on and then you're able to come ahead, 4-2 win rate in matches in professional play is a pretty good place to be sitting. Other thing we need to think about is which side is Kayn going? You said obviously he can go either way. 50-50 split in competitive play. In this kind of spot, that is...
I imagine you index into the healing and shielding, you go Rast and just have more frontline, more anti-tank stuff, more CC. That would be my imagination, unless you really want to blow up the Kai'Sa or the Syndra. But I suspect Rast would be my go-to. Not that I play a lot of Kayn these days, but I think it's also worth
the month pick. Maybe pick him up.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? Depends how well it goes sometimes.
True.
What I will say is some little stats from production has done a little bit of hunting about the Kayn v Udyr match, because of course it's not something we've necessarily had to theorize a lot on here in the LJL or just in competitive generally. And so Udyr obviously in solo queue very strong, 47. Most champions in the jungle have a 47% win rate against him, so it's not a good look if you're playing as Udyr in the jungle. But Kayn is lower still at 43%. So that's sorry. I phrased that poorly. Udyr has the 53% win rate. Against most junglers. Against Kayn, Kayn actually only has a 43% win rate himself. So not the easiest matchup specifically for Kayn, but it makes sense somewhat in this composition, I guess. You got a lot of dive bunnies, you got a lot of healing and backup for you diving in. I'm really excited to see how it works. It's a lot more standard from the Hawks. It's a lot more mad scientist from the Jesters, but really, should we have expected any less from Hatchemetra and crew? And I'm just really excited to see how this game plays out.
Absolutely. I think that's very fair to assume that obviously Udyr, he has the ridiculous clear speed. Kayn does have a little bit of an awkward time, especially with with chickens. He can be there for a fair bit longer. His clear speed isn't brilliant, and Krugs is the worst camp for Kayn. You'll commonly see Kayn's normally actually skipping Krug camps in their first clear just because they don't have enough power going through. That is one of the few things I have learned when I have been doing my research on Kayn. But early game, obviously, the invade that can happen from the side of Udyr is going to be huge. Kayn doing chickens first because I mispronounced and actually said the wrong camp. Obviously, Kayn has a great time at chickens because he is able to clear multiple of them because of his Q and combo.
Blaze, reach, and Blaze reach plus reaping slash. So much nice AoE. Krugs are a little harder because, of course, Krugs have lower magic resist, but a fair amount of armor, and Kayn just does physical damage mainly. And unless you're playing more of that magic damage threat or just someone with enough tankiness and kind of mobility, you don't tend to do it so much. But Hatchemetra feels confident enough to do it anyway and is heading straight over to those. Be looking for the full clear, even if it is a little less easy for Kayn on that particular camp.
Yeah, and if we'll see anything, I would not be surprised at all if we see Udyr engaging and actually invading Hachimecha. He is actually going for the full clear, and he's going for the full bot side clear before rotating around. So that's going to be a very slow clear sign from Hachimecha. Even with him being able to go through the walls, it's not going to make a huge difference because as we can already see, Tussel's already done all of his blue side and now is rotating around. The reason we're giving so much focus is, ladies and gentlemen, there's nothing else going on in this game. All of the lanes are just they're just slapping each other a little bit, and the jungle's the most interesting part. We can tell that the official stream is very interested in talking about the Kane's transformations and the differences between the two.
So yeah, they're talking about Darkin Rust, as it's called in Japanese. But yes, the Rust transformation is obviously what happens when you can go over. You either turn into that Darkin form, that Rust form, where Rust wins the war over the soul and the body, and you get that much tankier, healing, Aatroxy type champion with all that Umbral Trespassing goodness. Or you go for that Shadow Assassin, where you get to just be really obnoxious and fly between walls and throw out blades reaches everywhere, and be a lot more assassin-y, which makes a lot of sense considering his lore as a Kinko assassin is Kane. But of course, with the lane pressure kind of being in favor of the Hawks on the top side, Hachimecha can't look to that top side scuttle. So instead, we'll spot that's going on and head over to the bot side scuttle crab as Recap takes a nasty little trade from the Dark Spheres, but fortunately has a level up there, so he's not in threat of a death quite yet. Probably has to be a little afraid of a Scat of the Week combo, though. So just hanging back and letting this wave come into turret, and we'll hope for some fancy feet.
This is what I was meaning about the pop star in the mid lane. They have problems like this where their early game is going to be AFK farm under turret. Hope we don't die to Syndra too often, and then we can maybe do something.
Look, she's got the positive win rates as an engage in the bot side. We'll have to talk a little later as to flash away from Sol, but it does manage to get out, but the summoner is blown. So good work there from the Hawks duo stepping forwards. Tussle will be on vision as he comes down trying to skirt that vision, and Rascal Jester will wisely back away a little. And, you know, you were saying, look, Seraphine's kind of fine into Syndra. She's got the positive win rate. She does go down in lane early on, as kind of what we're getting at. But she just tends to survive okay. Like, yeah, you see a bit of CS, but you hit the mid game. You've got all your items. You've got all the utility you need. And as long as you don't die, and it doesn't happen too often, you should be all right.
Yeah, she's gone for this teleport. She's really going to probably index on playing far safer, give up a bit of that CS, even a bit of experience early on, because it's just far better for them to scale into this game where they will become a huge presence, where they will be able to put huge heals and shields out there. But on the other side, this game is going rather quiet so far. This is going to be a fasting center in the bot lane. We are going to be seeing Maokai getting all of that farm, and this game, thank you to production as always, is going to be a Rust game over on this Kane. He's got Conquer. He wants to do as much damage over onto Sion and Udyr as it is a melee matchup, heavy on the side of the Hawks. Their front line is melee. It's not going to be something crazy, and I think that's where it's going to be sitting.
And like the other hint, of course, is the fact he's gone for that Iron Spike whip in inventory, which means it's going towards Gore Drinker. Yes. So add on. So that's just that item to get as much healing as possible, which Rust loves. All the sustain all the time. So we'll be looking for that, and has the easiest time picking up those red orbs to fuel that transformation towards the Darkin. Has now hit level 6 nice and early as well, so can look for an Umbral Trespass. Kinatu also at level 6. We might see a Darkin duo look for the dive onto Sion in topside. Kane is a pretty good dive champion because you can drop aggro with Umbral Trespass. See if it plays out all right. They're looking for it. There's no jungler for the Hawks. And I think this is just Apperman likely to fall. Hachimecha flashes in, uses the Umbral Trespass to drop aggro, get out. Kinatu takes a couple tower shots. But a Reaping Slash away means first blood, easily picked up for the Jesters. The Hawks will trade for Dragon on the other side, but there's little else to write home about.
Yeah, I mean, the Hawks at least picking up immediately once Tussle saw that Hachimecha had shown himself in that top side. Ran straight over and started this dragon, so that at least they do get that trade. Hachimecha having to honestly play around that turret aggro brilliantly. They identified at the very beginning that Hachimecha will just tank up the turret until the last moment, immediately go inside with the Kane ultimate, and then rotate back around. Beautifully done. First blood over, and the gold lead is about 1k position at the moment. Junglers are pretty even. This mid lane matchup, even though the Seraphine is getting absolutely bullied, has just hit 6. So Dasher now has to be a little bit worried. Tussle has to be worried. They can't dive this Seraphine with the pressure they did have pre-6. And this was something we already identified in the pick and ban phase. This was a lane that Tussle needed to try and find some pressure on. He hasn't found it, and now this Seraphine is always going to be far safer because she can ultimate whenever she feels like there might be a bit of danger coming from Tussle, as the Flash Bear stat will never be point blank. She will always have vision in both sides of her lane, I imagine, is what I was trying to say there. But I said and then forgot my train of thought.
Yeah, and the Hawks, of course, did get that early Drake. If they can get that dragon stacking going on, and there's a win condition for them, it'll be Herald spawning in a few seconds as well. So if you can play around that instead of looking for kills, then you've got some options there. Only slightly scary thing, of course, is this Aatrox is off to a fairly hefty start in the game. Kane as well starting well, but there's a teleport coming down bot. They want to get in here. Flash, grand entrance into the quickness means that Sol falls down oh so quickly. Kinatu was teleported in, but it's still a 2 versus 3. Has to quickly walk away. Hawks pick up a really nice kill, set up well by Corporal, almost all the time though. Catchametch will walk to this top side and clean up the waves. That won't get shoved in, but it's a teleport down for Kinatu, even if Kane will gratefully pick up the CS.
Yeah, at least the side of Rascal Jester are quickly responding to the enemy. A moment that the teleportation was coming in, Rascal Jester were like, okay, well, we're not going to lose any more advantages for across the map. We'd already seen Recap had pushed the lane in, so Dasher immediately just teleported from within the base, immediately started rotating around and going, okay, where can we get? What can we do? Takes out the pink ward that's inside the Rift Herald's slot, and then they immediately rotate around and Hachimecha clears up the wave. No push happens. Kill does go over. They do trade the teleports and a kill, so Rascal Jester are a little bit sad about that. It is still a favorable trade for the side of the Hawks, but at the time it could have gone way worse for Rascal Jester. They could have lost at least a turret plate in top lane, but they were very quick to respond to that, so they're keeping themselves in this lead, and they are clearing vision as aggressively as possible.
Yeah, they're feeling pretty happy, but for the Hawks, that is a nice turnaround. It was a nice play. It was a great engage by Corporal. We already saw one early on which burnt the flash from Sol, so some good 2v2 mechanics coming out from the Hawks down there, so that at least brings the goal back to a little bit more even. But this Herald is being started up by the Jesters. The Hawks are here to contest. Zenit and Corporal switched lanes pretty rapidly. But Recap is around. Maokai has got a teleport and is looking to come in here and make sure this would not be an even fight. 4v4 right now. Sion steaming up the mid lane with the ultimate. The Herald goes down. Hachimecha picks up the eye. Corporal going in, but does not find as much as he would like. Zenit over the back end does go for the killer instinct, but there's not enough there. Dasher gets Seraphine. Big pickup for them, but that massive Dawning Shadow puts so much damage. Hachimecha gets another kill. Watch for the Blade's reach. Corporal jumping onto Sol. Udyr does get Kane, but the fight's still continuing. Dasher solo, and Kinatu has been left to run rampant in the backside of this fight. The Darkin Blade sings true. And how many times over the past few weeks have we seen Aatrox's left unattended destroy skirmishes and team fights?
But this is still all favor Rascal Jester. They were able to get that Rift Herald. They let the opponents take forever to come into them. And then the moment that the side of the Hawks get there, I even shouted, why are the Hawks here? The Rift Herald's gone down. This is what you're playing for. The early Rift Herald is the first one. This is the one, if you're going to play around it, you have to go for it. Appleman's coming in too late. It's already gone. Beautiful Seraphine basically zones out 3 of the members of the Hawks. And yes, the Hawks get a great engage. But the problem is the follow-up just isn't there. Sol is able to stay on this backline for so long and is clearing vision, able to put the ultimate down and is kits so much to stop it. Corporal tries to stop Sol, and then with Tussle's assistance, they get there. But it ends up still being a 3 for 3. They had the Rift Herald, and now all these lanes are pushing into the side of Rascal Jesters. This is exactly what they want. So then when they turn around, they can get the resets and push some lanes in. Their Rift Herald has already been spawned, and they just want the turret plates to go all onto Hachimecha. Interesting.
And that is an 11-minute Rast transformation. 2, 1, and 1. Gordrinker complete. Hachimecha is on point to be a very scary Darkin. Part of the reason Kane is so difficult in pro play is because you desperately need that transformation, and it's a lot harder to find the orbs and the fights you're looking for in coordinated play where you can track Kane early on, where you can punish him early on. It's not going to be the case thus far here. He might be in trouble right now, has to try and find his way through the wall. And he does use the Umbral Trespass. Tussle now in a spot of bother as Recap comes along to try and punish. Nature's Grasp is there. Twisted Advance does work as well. Hachimecha gets Tussle. Big scat of the week, though. Makes it a 1-for-1. Soul is dead. Now Hachimecha has to flash away. Nice turnaround from the Hawks to make that an even trade.
That was really well played by the side of the Hawks to even get that opportunity of the turnaround. Tussle got completely caught out, didn't have his chem tank, which he's just brought. But Sol, for the second time in a team fight, has been caught out. This is not what we saw from Sol previously. However, where we need to look is Kanatu is already getting ahead on this Aatrox. That is really scary for the Hawks. They did that fight without Kanatu, and in the future, Kanatu will be there at the team fights. That wasn't a dragon they were fighting over. That was just a fight to get a pick to then try and figure out where we can go with it. The other thing that's worth talking about is Hachimecha is 3-1-1. He didn't get shut down. He is somebody on this enemy team of Rascal Jester that do have that shutdown gold at the moment. And now both these junglers are going to go back, clear their jungle. We've already got the transformation, as you mentioned, on this Kane. And currently, Kane is leading the gold graph. No one on the side of the Hawks is even close to matching him.
Yeah, he is very strong. That Darken duo, Rast plus Aatrox, is ready to do a hell of a lot of work in this game. Udyr, not doing badly himself, is kind of leading the Hawks gold graph, has found a couple kills. Tussle definitely really running at Sol, and it's been difficult for Sol because Scat of the Week and Corporal diving at him is causing chaos. The problem is because they're focusing Sol, it's kind of leaving these Darkins a little bit free to do some trade backs and forth, but it's left this game relatively even, I say, aside from the, near 2,000 gold lead early on, which perhaps is less even than I'm giving credit for. But the Hawks are at least not going down without a fight, even if they are down a little here. And it's a little alarming, of course, that Kane is off to such a good start.
It really is. Hitting that 50 soul stack for Senna is a really nice place, especially at the 40-minute mark. A little bit further behind we'd really like to see from Sol, but as I have mentioned, he's been getting caught out a little bit. He has died 3 times, and 2 of those times probably could have been prevented if he either walked off a bit further or somewhere else. Interesting note, in the LJL at the moment, Aatrox is currently 1-5 in the league, even though we do know that he is a loved champion in the league, and even when he might fall a little bit off of meta, our top laners still will try the tried and true tested Aatrox. But can Kanatu find this? At the moment, he's having a very strong game. It's early phases at the moment, but Rascal Jester looked to be at least an opportunity to give Aatrox a bit of a redemption.
But I do want to say, credit to the Hawks. Dasher and Tussle have had a great game so far. These guys are saying their synergy has been really off. They've not been getting involved in the right plays. This game, they've been doing pretty well. You said you needed Udyr to be looking pretty decent in this game to be able to stand up to people. He is at a fairly good point. He's, 2-1-1, found some good picks. Similarly, with Dasher, 2-1-1. This Syndra also looking fairly strong in this game. The problem is some of these side lanes are looking a little bit difficult. Sion is significantly behind the Aatrox right now. And for at least, I suppose, the bot side, Jesters have got a bit. Had Sol get jumped on a few times. Yes, he managed to flash for a Dawning Shadow, but he's still getting jumped on. He's still falling down. And it will kind of be a challenge between the mid jungle duo of one side and the top jungle duo of the other.
Yeah, it will be. And this might just come down to the fact that currently Kanatu has 2 kills and is a very, very big boy. He also has 30 CS over Apperman at the moment. That cannot be understated. That is basically 2 extra kills. He could almost be 4-0-2 versus Apperman at the moment. He's got a level advantage, and the moment that Apperman saw anybody from the enemy team, he has to just immediately walk away from the tower because he knows Kinatu has close to kill potential onto him. They decide to go, okay, we're going to give them this we'll give them top tower. It's frustrating that we have to do that. They're going to rotate. They're going to play around this Rift Herald that is live, and then they're probably going to rotate back around and get this bot side for this dragon. They're already taking down the Rift Herald, and this is just Rascal Jesters playing very quickly around the map, and I would not be surprised if we immediately see them all run down and try and get this dragon as well.
Yeah. the Hawks at least done a good job about getting control over Rascal Jester's red side jungle. They trade for turret on the bot side. They've got control around this dragon pit, and they will try and be around that, and that will be the trade. It'll be tower for tower, objective for objective is what the Hawks are hoping for. Mountain Dragon spawns. They're going to try and force the Jesters to face check. Fortunately for the Jesters, though, they've got a few good champions to be able to face check. They'll use the Herald and mid to buy space, buy time, and Hachimecha shadow walking through those walls. The dragon goes down, and how Hachimecha has to try and find his way out. Gets a Blade's Reach, but he's about to get jumped on. The Scout of the Week misses critically, so it'll be tower in mid for the dragon trade. Will there be a fight to come after, though, is the question we have to ask ourselves. Apperman was looking for a flank. Doesn't come through, though, is Hachimecha getting slowed down. Tussle runs at him. That's a big Scout of the Week. Gets him. He's getting so much healing back, though. The Umbral Trespass means he gets a kill back, and so much CC, so many stuns. He just can't fall. Tussle finally gets him, but they spent so many resources to get him so low, and he still survived for so long. It is a 3-for-1 plus mid lane turret. Jess has come out so ahead in that skirmish.
This team is exactly what we were saying, Initialized. This is a team that has so much healing and shielding, and they can just keep a member alive for so long. Recap and Soul, single hand. Close. Oh, but these two players are able to do so much healing. Rust obviously coming out for Kayn with this Gold Drinker, putting out huge healing opportunities. This Kayn single-handedly stayed alive for 10 times longer than he should have. As we come into this replay, there was a trade. There was another trade. Rascal Jesters, again, getting another trade. When they missed that, they were able to get a turret. When they missed this, they get a kill. In this one, look at this. Shield comes down. Beautiful ultimate coming out. And look at that. Secret's already full health again. Hachimecha is able to then come in and go, nope, I'm still alive, getting 140 health. Still alive. Still alive for so long. And the other point of note here is they started this fight without Kinatu. They started this fight with Kinatu going, okay, guys, they're actually coming on you now. Should I actually TP in? Teleports in there, and that's when the rest of the fight just goes completely in Rascal Jester's favor. They arguably might have won that one in a 4v5, which is scary.
Hachimecha was 50 HP away from dying there. If there had been another amp tone in Dash's inventory, he was dead. And he still survives long enough with all the shields, with all the heals to get an Umbral Trespass off, comes out, gets a Bleed to reach off to knock up 2 more people. And that is incredibly clutch, and the Hawks are going to be so frustrated because Hachimecha was being so aggressive with how far up he was in that lane. And he still managed to get away with murder, quite literally. Kinatu, though, might now be in a spot of bother in this top side. He's about to get dived, forces the teleport in the world ender. The Hawks will back away, happy about having burnt the ultimate and the summoner.
Yeah, they didn't use anything for that. They just kind of threatened Kinatu, and that's all they did. Apperman, though, is getting engaged on this separate side.
Yeah, he is, but he's also a lot tankier. They're still continuing to move on, though, as Sol now in trouble, getting jumped on. The killer instinct comes through Sol, trying to flash out, but the last auto is Zenit. What a glorious solo kill in mid lane, and Sol just caught sleeping there. Beautiful plays.
I feel like I've seen this exact play before from Zenit. Weird. It's almost like I'm getting deja vu. But anyway, that is a fasting Senna, and this is part of the problem. Fasting Senna needs time. She needs to get her souls. She hadn't got enough at that point. I don't even think she's hit over to the 80 point. At this moment in time, this Senna is going to look a bit frail, and she is currently 4 deaths, and Soul so far has been getting caught out a lot, and it's not what they need to see.
No, but, I want to give serious credit to Zenit there, because Sol felt like he was safe. He was off vision round the wall, but the moment that Void Seeker lands, Kai'Sa presses R, and Sol just had no chance in hell there. Let's see the replay, because I'm pretty sure Sol thinks he's safe. Look, he's full HP at this point.
Yeah, he looks like he's free. The moment that Zenit is able to land this on him, boing, he's already dead. The moment that was landed in a 1v1 scenario, there is nothing that Sol can do there. He attempted to flash away, but even then it was all in vain. And if anything, it might have been better in the long term to just accept the sweet embrace of death, as Senna is so familiar to that kind of feeling, and turn it around later. Didn't let herself do that, so Sol is going to have to now play the next few minutes of this game without a flash, and Dragon is coming up, and Rascal Jester will want to fight around it.
Sol wisely walks away. Corporal just shy, just enough speed with the Black Mist, but Tussle waiting around this teleport looking to get a stun. It's Maokai that's come in, pulls the Nature's Advance down. Nature's Grasp, I apologize. Big Blades reach. Corporal now in trouble, taken massively low by the Dawning Shadow. Yes, Soul might have died a few times, but he's still pulling out the damage. Appleman in the front line gets pulled back, goes down. The Infernal Chains do their work. Unleashed Power won't quite kill Hachimetra, who walks into the wall to get more healing. They get the top lane, and they get out, and they'll move over to Baron potentially here, or the Jesters.
Yeah, huge pick potential there. The Hawks should be thanking their little lucky stars that they didn't lose more members in that skirmish, because there is reason to believe that it could have gone so much wrong. But the Hawks look to be engaging, but all the members, because of the shields and heals of the Rascal Jesters, are full health. Why Hawks? Why are you not just taking the free dragon? Now you're giving the side of Rascal Jesters the opportunity to run down here. You're just opening it. It doesn't look like the Rascal Jesters are going to go for it. I think they're a little bit scared that it should already be chunked down way lower than they expect it to be. The fact is, they could have actually gone for it, and the Hawks fumbling the ball a little bit.
They do at least get themselves to Mountain Soul Point, but this is the problem, right? There's no real healing reduction apart from there is reactive healing reduction with the Thormail in Udyr and in Sound's inventory, but that's kind of it. We're back here to Soul, who's kind of like, yeah, I need to be afraid. And they look for the engage, and it just doesn't work, Lexi.
Oh, and this is the moment that the side need to immediately give up. That's why you see Tussle looking to bear slap the moment they see whoever's coming through here. The problem is they're not able to do much more than that, and so much damage. Look at how far. Oh my god. Corporal, you should be thanking your lucky stars, sir, that you are so good at just moving in the right direction and pressing the keys at the right time. Because honestly, that is pixel difference. He could have got caught there, and that could have been a 4-man one. The fact that it was 3-man and they weren't able to get much more follow-up is kind of impressive, and that just shows how far the Hawks had immediately disengaged. But it almost wasn't enough. A little bit worse, it could have gone wrong. Do want to give some credit, though, to a previous play while we just watched this turret get taken down. Zenit got his first solo kill in the league. That's pretty cool.
That's nice stuff from Zenit there, and just like that was inches away from Corporal getting on top of the Flashless Senna, but the Cursed Black Mist was quick enough to get him far enough out, and even then, they almost disengaged really smoothly, but the extension on the encore with the Dawning Shadow, just the range of those line skill shots is just so massive, and the Hawks, they'd run down like literally half the lane, it still wasn't far enough. The AI bot is giving them a fairly significant advantage here, 74% chance. Blitzcrank definitely favoring Jesters right now, and Appleman on this side just not tanky. Yeah, Soul might have died a few times, but he's still got damage to back him up. Good lord.
And he's also hit that 80 soul count. He's actually at 92, which is just going to keep hammering on further and further. This is the difference between support center and fasting center, and farming center, right? Like, the three versions of her have so many differences, and Rascal Jester are just abusing the fact that this fasting center is so big, and that secret is a huge problem for this team now.
Yeah, they've got another tank frontliner to be more engaged. They've also got Hachimetra. They've also got Kinati. That's effectively 3 solo lane level players as frontline in some ways, because Secret got to farm. And he is a real problem as well. The inhibitor in bot side goes down, and the Hawks are really struggling to get onto the members that matter, because in some ways it feels like at least 4 members really matter between everybody but the support. The supports are frustration, as we've just mentioned.
This is beautifully played by the side of Rascal Jester. They just did a gorgeous 4-1 comp where they just said, Kanati, you push in this mid lane, no one really can stop you, and if they want to stop you, we will take so much more from them if they engage on you. There is no way that any of the members of the Hawks can lock down Kanati for long enough to actually guarantee a kill, and that the side of the Hawks aren't able to collapse over onto Rascal Jester. Now, the fact is, they were able to get that turret in bot, they were able to get that inhibitor, and then they got that mid turret. That's the bonus. They shouldn't have been able to get that. They got it. They got a 3.4k Baron power play, which is just huge. They've got this bot inhibitor, and you know why they want that bot inhibitor for the future? It's because they want to play around this Baron when it comes up again. They want to be able to force around it, push this inhibitor in again, and then just go, hey guys, if we find a pick on you, we're threatening Baron every single time.
And we're looking now at a 5,000 gold lead. We're looking at double Gore Drinker, plus Moonstone, plus Staff of Flowing Water for Seraphine. It's Kraken Slayer Guinsu's Rage Blade complete for Sol, who's now at 100 miss. So that is no longer utility. That is full damage. Sion gets to do nothing in the face of that Senna. It feels like Udyr as well, not having the best time there as well. That's great anti-tank stats. Look at the gold on Kinatu and Hachimecha. Finally, Dasher has got himself an Oblivion Orb, but there's nothing like a Serpent's Fang to cut through the shields that are coming through, and they've only got some healing reduction. It's not like a full Morellonomicon or anything at this point, so I think it might just be a little too late at this point. These team fights are so difficult. It's Zenit or nothing, it feels like right now.
Kinatu might be slowly becoming the most impressive scouting grounds player in the LJL, and what a performance this man is having. 17 years old, and he's already leading the gold graphs against some of the absolute best from last season. Apperman in this
It's a
top
monstrous lead.
Huge lead. We're at a 6k or well, almost 6.5k gold lead at this point for the side of Rascal Jesters. They do know they have to fight for this dragon because it is going to be sole point, but the enemy team, the Hawks, are just so scared because, hey, guess what? We can't do anything because they're so strong. We are going to see Secret teleport in, going to get matched by Apperman, and we're going to see a fight incoming.
All right, teleport coming now in the blue buff pit. This would be sold for the Hawk. Tussle on the flank. Desperately trying to find him, but Kinatu slides over the wall, looking to get on Tussle, but Tussle is quick enough to disengage. Apperman looked for the decimating smash, but couldn't quite find it. Darkened Blade does land. Infernal Chains don't get the pull back, and we're back to a stalemate. Look at Corporal, also looking for the flank, but can't quite find it. The Hawks getting vision inside this Mountain Drake pit. Hachimecha going forwards, gets a Blade Reach, going in, big healing, big damage. He gets taken pretty low though, but remember the healing is huge. Dussel drags him back, Zenit into the backline, gets a hold of Sol before the Dawning Shadow can come loose, but Kinatu in the backside, running wild. He gets a lot of damage, recap, survives on inches of HP, and Kinatu and Hachimecha, the Darkin Bash bros, cause all the chaos. The gold lead might have been game ending, it's certainly world ending for this one, and the double kill comes out of Aatrox. Yes, you got the AD carry. Yes, you got recap, but you can't deal with the frontline damage threats.
Absolutely. They were able to get onto this backline and absolutely remove Sol from the rest of that team fight. But they used so much just to get onto the back of him. And the enemy side of Hachimecha was never going down. He went so low at moments, but the shields and heals always kept coming through. And he is so strong here. He goes right into the middle and just... He's just tanking up 3 members. Corporal is really delayed on this and immediately goes onto Sol. It makes sense. That's the AD carry. The problem is Kinatu and Hachimecha are doing so much of this damage in these team fights. They do get the kill over there, and Seraphine is taken so low. It's like, oh, well, she should probably be able to get away. But look at Dasher. They're like, oh my god, we see someone with a low health bar. We have to go for them. They're not actually thinking about the players that are in front of them. It's almost like they've conditioned themselves that they are already losing this fight. And look at the amount of damage that happened. So much came from this top side of the Rascal Jesters. It's amazing from Dasher and Zenit that they're able to do this much. But look at how tanky and how much they can heal.
Well, that's just the deal. They do so much damage, and it is not enough to kill the people that matter. Yes, Zenit deleted Sol, disappeared. It was a 5 versus 4. The recap was out of the fight, but you can do all the damage in the world. But if you can't do enough to burst through these hyper-accelerated top and jungle, you just get run down in the extended fights because they themselves can't trade back that much HP. They themselves don't have the healing and shielding. And how do you deal with a Darkin is a question that the demon hunters of the League of Legends universe have been asking for centuries. And apparently the Hawks don't have the answer right now. Baron is being started, though.
Absolutely, they're coming in, and that's a huge knockup.
They get a massive on the encore afterwards into the Dawning Shadow. Zenit goes in trying to get onto the backline again, but it is too little. It is too late. Recap gets a double. Sol gets 1 for himself. Make that 2 for him as well. And Sion is a zombie one more time. It is another ace, and this composition from the Rascal Jesters has been a beauty to behold.
This was an absolute Hail Mary attempt from the Jesters, but, from the Hawks, but they didn't expect it to go so poorly. They got a beautiful knock-up. Apperman went right into the middle. It looked like it was all there. And then the encore came out across every single member from the looks of things, and I believe Initialize this is going to be the game unless Corporal can pull some magic out of his hat.
I don't think he has it. He gets rooted. The twisted advance comes through because you know what? Your tanky frontline needs more tanky frontline. That Maokai as well. So frustrating. The Jesters clean up this game. Don't quite claim Tussle at the end of it, and it was an impressive win from a really fun and cleverly orchestrated draft.
This was beautifully played, a symphony of moments from the side of the Jesters, commiseration from the Hawks. They looked strong for part of it, Initialized, but I just weren't able to stand up to Kane and specifically Kinatu win that Aatrox.
Absolutely. Well, to find out more about how this game played down, how the Super Slash Bros in the top side of this map came out with the win, well, I'll have to cut to a quick break and we'll be back with the Analyst Desk just after this.
That's another game down and another win in the column for Rascal Jester, and another time I forget to unmute my mic on the thing which I'm using. So I'm just sat there being like all very mimey and a bit of a jester myself. However, I wish I was one of these Rascal Jesters because what a game from them. Because this comp, it's definitely much more spring 2020 Rascal Jesters. Only one member remaining from that match, that lineup rather, which is Hatchemetcha, and he brought out some of those pocket picks spice he likes to pull out on his YouTube. Sam was watching them in this Kane. So I guess, Lexi, going to head over to you first. Rascal Jester came out with this comp, which was very heavy on sustain, very much about elongating fights, getting the maximum value out of the healing from stuff like Seraphine, Aatrox, and Kane, the super slash bros, as we like to call them at the end of that game. What was your opinion on this composition?
Initially, when I was looking at it, I love the idea of what we're seeing from this kind of comp. I love the idea of shields and heals. We've got double tank front line, assuming we go fasting center, which they did. I was like, oh, this could be really interesting. The problem is, if Rascal Jester fell behind, like if they did fall behind in this game, even by a little bit, it could have gone really bad. Kane, very squishy. Seraphine, very squishy. Senna, we saw in this game, very squishy. If the tanks don't really get that front line going, if Kinatu and Secret don't get a decent start going, Dasher and Zenit could delete them before shields and heals come out. However, that's not how this game went, Nymera.
No, because of course, I mean, it is worth saying that Kane is not a full tank. He's not a full squishy champion either. He doesn't go the Assassin Kane where, like, you go for, like, Swifties and Moby boots. At least you get yourself something like a Gore Drinker, and you can get steel toe caps and maybe build into Asterix. You're still not a full tank, though. The thing is, you do need to transform, and that ended up happening basically around that one fight where he gets, what, 201, was it, up in Herald, around there, Sam? Talk me through Hatchemetcha played this early game to get relevant into the game early, because remember, Kane is about half a champion before he transforms. How did Hatchemetcha actually use this composition, use his champion, to really get ahead of the curve?
So, Kane is not much of a champion until level 6. He is, and even then, he's only 2/3 of a champion because he desperately needs the transformation. And the thing is, he gets level 6, and he has pathed pretty well. He stayed even in farm because Kane does need to farm as well as fight. It is a very difficult line to tread. Unfortunately for him, he has got Aatrox hit level 6 at the same time, and Sion has kind of been put under his tower, and they go for the dive. They use the Umbral Trespass really well to drop tower aggro, because Kane does do that well. Once he hits level 6, he can drop aggro super easily. They get the kill onto the Sion. First blood goes the way of Hatchemetcha. Excellent news. That's off to the early lead. They then find another skirmish down at the bottom river where, yeah, he kind of falls, gets a little caught out, but does get more kills, more involvement in what was a relatively even trade. But it's not even when after that fight, having farmed well, having got first blood, having got involved in 2 relatively big skirmishes, you then get a Ras transformation at about 11 minutes. That is very early. That is very dangerous. You already accelerated. Yeah. Like, there are memes, of course, of the likes of Speaker picking up and not getting that transformation until 20-ish minutes. Happened similarly to Blank when he pulled it out. And it is very possible to hold Kane down for a long time. It doesn't happen this game, partly by good management from
Stay
Jesters.
down, don't come off.
But the fact he does come out to such an early lead is a big deal, because realistically, the Jester's comp should have come on a little later once they got first items, once they got some sustain tools.
Well, I guess
it came on earlier than it should have been.
And I suppose moving on to that point now, as this kind of naturally flowed into it. We look at this Hawks team. You've got a Sion on the top side. This isn't Camille. Heck, it's not even something like a Volleyball or the Aatrox themselves, where they add into a lot of the damage which you want to be putting into, particularly the Kane, also the Aatrox, who, and I mean, Maokai is also on this level too, because it's also the farming Maokai who has that sap magic passive, which all regen in the front line. If you can burst them down quick enough, maybe you can stop that heal coming through. We were talking about that, and Sam, they're just going to say they got ahead of the curve. So Lexi, it really put a lot of onus onto Zenit and Dasher trying to do something, anything to get them off the table before they could hit another target, start regenning off of them. That didn't really work that game, though, did it?
No, it didn't. I mean, Zenit and Dasher, they had a pretty tough time ahead of them. A huge amount of focus as well was also put on Corporal. Corporal was like being requested, land 3 or 4 man not ultimates on your Rakan. Because if you don't, we will not win these fights. And it was incredibly hard for them to do so. A few of these fights, it looked like it'd be a lot closer. I'm thinking around that Baron fight where Corporal did get 4 men, but it was all in vain because 2 members of their team died and Appamen was right in the middle. Like, that was the fight that couldn't have gone any better for them, and it didn't come here. And Dasher and Zenit had to find the opportunities. Now, we did see Zenit have that opportunity in that mid lane where he was able to land a beautiful combo onto Soul, who even blew their flash just before a dragon was coming up. So that was like the best kind of scenario for them. The problem is they weren't
solo
able to
kill in
find
the
a lot of that.
LJL2 as well, actually.
Like,
by the way.
congratulations to him on that,
It was
right?
nice. It was really clean.
Clean as F, but like that wasn't enough. They needed to find a lot more of those. And honestly, Hatcher Metcher on this Kane, first time playing Kane on the professional stage ever in his career. And this is the kind of performance we're seeing from them. This man has one of the deepest jungling pools and is definitely flexing that he can even pull out new things as well.
Pulling out new things, and unfortunately Zenit and Dash are not able to take down that Kane in so many of those fights. Too early a transformation, too much gold in the pocket, and not really enough into theirs. What this does mean is that Rascal Jester moved to 2-0 this week, and we just talked about it a little bit before. Axis and CGA both went 0-2. This means that Rascal Jester have well and truly cleared past this middle of the pack berth, and now they're kind of staring at V3 and saying blink first, and we will be seeing them after the break. But I guess kind of initialize on this one closing segment, Rascal Jesters this week looking good.
Very good and very creative, and not like in a not in a bizarre way, not in a this is just us having fun. This is actually really cleverly thought through team comps. Like this last keep comp really impressed me. It was a nice idea that was executed well and really caught the Hawks flat-footed. Good stuff from them.
Good stuff from them. We'll have to see them next time they're on the Rift, though, in Super Week. But we will, of course, still be hanging on with the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks Gaming. They'll be going up against V3 Esports, the second-place team currently in the LJL, after this break. So stick around and go absolutely nowhere.